Ladies and gentlemen, we have to understand that physical appearance and attractiveness is very important factor to decide children's happiness in the future. And that's why parents and educators should actively encourage the children to invest in this important factor for their future, and also they have to make the children prepare for the society, prepare for the real world in the society, because unfortunately in the real world, the people with good appearance and attractiveness have the much more possibility to get good job, to promote their career, and to get better life, and that's why we propose. So I'm going to talk about three things in my speech. First of all, I'm going to talk about the benefit for the children's future, and second of all, even if people who have less attractiveness or less good appearance are stigmatized, what is better for the children's future, and finally, what is the role of education. And before that, let's clarify our model. Two points here. First of all, so we parents and educators should actively encourage the children to invest, for example, to shape their body by exercising, right? For example, not be fat, or for example, encourage the women to make up beautifully, or women and men shape, for example, or looks clean, or we are happy to say that you should be fashionable, you should care about the clothes where you wear, and so forth. And more importantly, second of all, so we are happy to teach the children what is the social demand of appearance or attractiveness. What kinds of appearance or attractiveness is better or required in the society, in the real context, and we think this is good for children. So on to my first question about the benefit for children's future. So we have two benefits in particular. First of all, for the future job hunting and promotion. First of all, we have to understand the context in the real world is that, for example, even in the job hunting, the appearance and attractiveness is very important factor. For example, in the job hunting, the employer firstly checks the picture of your face and your appearance. They check your appearance, and also in the interview, because the time in interview is very small, the first impression is very important. For example, if you are fat, unfortunately you are regarded as a lazy person because you cannot manage your body shaping, or if you are not clean, you are also regarded as a person who are not suitable for business negotiation, and so forth. And you and the people who have a good appearance, good attractiveness, are more likely to get the good job and can be the whatever they want in the future. But second of all, later please, we also think that appearance and attractiveness also be connected to the promotion in their career. For example, if you have the good appearance or attractiveness, your first impression is very good for other people. That means that you have the more possibility to be succeed in the business negotiation, or you have the more possibility to have the good connection with other people, with your boss or with the client, and so forth. And that's why we think that in order for your self-actualization, this appearance and attractiveness is very important factor later please. But finally, we also think this investment in the physical appearance and attractiveness expands the children's possibility and diversify their talent or their ability. For example, when your child, when you do not invest in the appearance or attractiveness, and after that, for example, if you after you become fat, if you want to be the cabin attendant, unfortunately you will be rejected, right? That means that as long as children do not decide the future job do not decide the future job or future possibility, it's better for children to allow for children to invest and to expand any possibility, allow the children to be whatever they want, and that's why we think that this investment is particularly important and beneficial for children. Yes, Chloe.
In a society where white skin happens to be admired by people, do you, encourage children to invest to turn their skin color white?
No. We're not talking about these innate characteristics, right? What we are talking is that these characteristics, which is changeable, which has a room to be improved, right? So we don't say that white is better than black. It's totally racialism. So racism. So onto my second question, we also okay. So onto my second question, even if people who have less attractiveness, less appearance are stigmatized, we think our paradigm is still better for two reasons. First of all, for the people who do invest in the attractiveness and appearance, for these people, we think it's better to encourage the children to prepare these and to avoid the stigmatization in the first place, because on our side, the children will more likely to invest in the physical appearance and attractiveness. That means that they have the more possibility to avoid this stigmatization because they can be more good appearance. But second of all, and more importantly, we think on our side, even if it's also benefit for the people who are not suitable for the standard of beauty, because on our side we can encourage these people to find another way when they are children. For example, because we can make the children understand the reality in society. For example, if you are fat, if children are fat, for example, we can recommend them to be the model, for example, or to be the comedian and so forth. So by encouraging the children to see the reality, rather we can encourage them to find another way to succeed in the society in the future. And because this is also good for the good way for children to prepare in the society in the real world. And that's why we think even if stigmatization happens, it's not exclusive on our side, because anyway stigmatization exists in the real world. This future preparation is better for children, and that's why we propose.
I thank the Prime Minister for her remarks. Next, I'd like to call upon the Leader of Opposition. Here.
We believe that vulnerable children would rather be harmed and oppressed throughout this motion, because this motion tells you, the government's side is going to tell that there is a certain way of the value of beauty, and in their side they're going to push that, right? So we think that this rather brings the children to harm themselves and rather feel like, oh, I'm not enough for this kind of thing. So we think we are very happy to oppose. So as a model, so we believe that we are going to allow many kinds of people existence, and we're going to allow those kinds of children choices. So like if you want to have I don't know, about like longer hair, then we also allow that as well as but rather we will actually tell each individual that personality is rather important. And like we will actually tell, not good to judge by how you look, but rather we will actually encourage those kinds of children to see the inside of themselves. So three things to talk about in my speech. So first of all, how this kind of education would actually bring a mental harm for the children. And secondly, how this kind of emotion is actually bad as a way of education. And lastly, I would like to explain how better it will be in our paradigm. But before that, I'd like to repeat one thing to the previous speaker. So she has told us, well, in this present situation, how you look is actually very important when you want to have a job or something. But we never think so. Why is this so? Because still, like for example, in like the sales, for example, it is not only how you look, but also how you can actually be have more sales if you can able to talk a lot. If you have interesting stories and ability to talk and take in the customers as well. So we don't think that kind of like the beautiness is rather important in today's, but also we also rather focus on other things such as like the characteristics and so on. So we don't think that there's no complete necessity in like telling those kinds of beauty and so on. So that is my and other rebuttals are included in the tweet.
Fine.
So okay, I'll take it.
Would you also tell students that personality is more important than skills or knowledge or other things that schools forced to teach?
Oh no, like we are going to like we think that all kinds of value is rather important. So we are very happy to rather tell many things that like there are many values existent in the society and rather so like some people focuses on like personality or some people focuses on skills and etc. So we are very happy to focus on like variety of things at schools. So moving on to my first point. So how it is actually mentally harm for the children. So in their paradigm, well, they say like they're gonna have many kinds of value, but no, right? It's gonna have like one certain value of beautiness, because well, like in the society as well, like they say like there is a kind of the value that is important in the society. So we think that that kind of the ideal like way of how you look is actually taught in schools. And we think that that is rather problematic in today's society and for the children. Why is it so? Because we believe that those kinds of like children who doesn't apply to that criteria of beautiness, it rather becomes like harmed. And like they will actually feel depressed. Oh, like I do not look like the way that I was taught in school or like taught by my friends. And like I maybe I am not really good at my life and etc. So like we feel like those kinds of people will actually feel depressed. And we think that in those kinds of, especially the children who will have the tendency to like believe in everything that the school teaches, they can't really have the confidence in themselves. And we think that kind of way of education is not good. But furthermore, we think that this is rather problematic because children who doesn't really want to change themselves is rather being forced to change. So like as a boy, I myself like having longer hair, but the teacher actually teaches us to have like a very cool hair or something. I don't know, but for example, like those kinds of people were forced to cut his hair or something, and we think that is rather problematic. So because those kinds of individuals would rather be forced to change in that way to certain value. So we don't think that it is rather good. And second of all, why it is bad as a way of education. So as I have to tell you, like it's gonna teach the one certain value of beauty, meaning that that kind of like the lookism is rather going to occur. Why is it so? Because they're going to teach the children the beauty, the value of beauty and what beauty is. And we think that this kind of like the way of education rather creates like the social norm that this kind of beauty is the important in the society. This kind of beauty is rather seen as good in the society or etc. And we think that by educating this kind of children rather creates the children to rather believe in that there is a certain kind of beauty. And we think that is rather bad. Because we think that the school is rather a place to have many kinds of values actually, and like to teach that there are many kinds of points that people actually look on and actually like feel that it is important. Because we think that thank you. So like for example, that is the reason why we have discussion time at school. No, thank you. So they have the time to think that there are many kinds of way of thinking at school. So we think that is what the school is. So moving on to my third point. So how better in our paradigm? So we think that we can allow many kinds of values in our paradigm. We will not actually force one children to go to a certain way. So for example, like they have told us like being fat maybe can actually find a way to utilize that utilize and use it like you can be a comedian or etc. But we don't think that that is good because rather that will make a social norm saying that if you're if you don't look well, then you should be a comedian, etc. But in our paradigm, like we can allow many kinds of individuals to actually have the choices, and like how you can actually no matter how you look, you can be actually confident or etc. So we think that we can actually rather encourage children to have what they look and like how and be confident with what they have. So we think that in paradigm it is far more better for the children, so that's why we're very happy to approve.
I thank the LO for her remarks. Next, I'd like to call upon the Deputy Prime Minister. Here.
There's a social stigma in both sides, right? This is the beauty. This is the beautiness. This is something that you have to observe and so forth. This will happen in both sides, and in order to avoid to get the identity crisis in the future or something, we say it is very important to understand how to be attractive, how to look like attractive, or how to improve your appearance or something like that in the childhood, because we strongly believe it's very late if you know how to become beautiful when you become adults. I'll talk on this later in my argument. Okay, as the Deputy Prime Minister, I have two things to talk about. First, I'm going to talk about why it is important for schools to encourage people to obtain becoming attractive, especially during the childhood. And secondly, I'm going to compare their best case and the worst case. Their best case and our worst case. But before that, I have independent rebuttal toward the opposition side. There's a misconception that how you look is not important because if you're, for example, in a company, if you can talk a lot, you'll be hired and you can negotiate with the clients or something like that. But we say this is not true because if there are two kind of person who have same ability, same kind of characteristic like a talkative or same academic record, those companies tend to choose attractive one, right? Why is that? Because company also wants the products to look more like good or look very good. So if you negotiate with other clients, then person with a beauty smile will be highly likely to be hired. That's why we say how you look is important in our society, and those kind of stigma always happening in our paradigm, in both paradigms. Okay, moving on to my first argument about why it is very important for schools to encourage people to obtain becoming attractive, especially during childhood. Because childhood is when children can maximize their possibilities. How? If they know that it is important not to be obese in two ways, like firstly about in a healthy way, and secondly for physical appearance, and everybody care about everyday meals not to be obese, right? And because educators will teach not to become obese, this is very important. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for you to get the jobs. Then this is the real, and then also tell you like obesity will be difficult for the company to accept it. So this is the reality of the society or something like that. And this should be included as the education as a school education, because the school is the place where we can prepare for the society, right? Because as an analogy, the school educates like two things. Like firstly, how to communicate with each other, and secondly, how to study, and then those kind of things are recognized as very important things when they get into society, right? Why is that? Because the firstly, communication skill. If there is no communication skill in your mind, you cannot simply live in a society, because it will be very difficult to take the job interview, and even if you hate somebody, you should try to socialize with each other. Otherwise, you cannot coexist with this kind of person. That's why school teach you to communicate and socialize, even if you hate the kind of children or something like that. And secondly, it's about the study. If you don't have any knowledge about it, it's very difficult for you to talk high-level conversation. Like also difficult to understand what the bosses mean to say, what the boss wants you to do, or something like that. And then also, it will be very difficult for you to what the politician says or something like that. That's why school teach importance of study. And those two things are all needed in society in the future. That's why and we say attractiveness is also applicable to in this case. Why is that? Because it's also necessary, as my partner has already told you, the company tend to hire those people who have more attractive, and so the company checks appearance. We say this is very important case. Okay, moving on to my second argument. I'm gonna compare their best case and our worst case. Their best case will be they will allow individual to have the choice, right? But as my partner and I have already told you, if those kind of social stigma already exist, and it actually limit choice of individuals. So we say our paradigm will provide you the choice of how to become beautiful. That's why we say this is not mutually exclusive. And secondly, our worst case, right? There's a house mentioned. So there will be stigma, like one concept of beauty or so forth. But we say one concept of beauty. But we say those kind of, as I've already told you, those kind of stigma has already, it's not mutually excluded. This is always happening in in both paradigm as well, because the media or magazine will tell you this is beauty, Miranda Kai is very beauty or something like very beautiful or something like that. And in order to improve this kind of situation, we should, those educators and the parents should teach them how to improve the situation, how to become attractive, how to be hired by the company or something. Otherwise, they will never understand how to fit in a social value. That's why we say this is very important to teach them. And also, there's some house mentioned that sure.
How do you deal with those children who are poor and cannot invest in beauty?
Well, we don't say that investing money is always the case, right? Because how to decrease your fat doesn't relate to the money or something like that. That's why we say this is not the case. Okay, and also there's another house mentioned that those children will be forced to those children who don't want to change their appearance will be forced. But we say we will also teach the importance of identity. We don't say that we will force them to become beautiful, right? We will just encourage it. It will not be the course of choice. That's why we say this kind of things can also happen in our paradigm. And since there's a social stigma that this is the beauty or something like that, we say our side is still far better, because we will encourage those children to improve their situation. That's why we say our paradigm is far better. Thank you for attention.
I thank DPM for her remarks. Next, I'd like to call upon the Deputy Leader of Opposition. Here.
about how schools and parents forcing children to invest in physical appearance and activeness harms children. So I will talk about how the role of school in society and how, like, on our side can rather achieve the organic change that's happening in society. How many people are already like being accepted in society, like comparatively, and how on their side they will rather more people who are not attractive or physically able will be stigmatized even more in their paradigm. So that is why we strongly oppose. So before that, I have one independent rebuttal. So they talked about job hunting. So the government side illustrated how like lookism is basically engraved in society. So we believe that the role of school is not to like perpetuate the system, but rather to teach children to value like what's on the inside, how rather of the people's like skills and how intelligent they are, or it's also acceptable. No, thank you, to be help autistic people or people who are not physically able should be accepted in society. Like we think that those kinds of things should be promoted in at school rather than physical appearance or activeness, which cannot be achieved by all people. So moving on to my constructive. Firstly, the role of school. Yes.
The existence of the word lookism that you are using is clearly proving that there is a prevailing norm to emphasize importance of attractiveness in the society.
Well, we think that on our paradigm, it's being rather people are countering this problem because more people in on our paradigm, more people are like accepted, right? But on your paradigm, looks are everything. So that is what we think that it is. It will be strengthened in the government's paradigm. So anyways, moving on to the role of school. We think that the role of school is to like develop child's personality and mindset, right? And teach morals that is good for society, like to create a better society, like more equality, for example, by providing many ideas and how many people should be accepted in society, right? So rather, it should be values such as like be nice, be kind, don't judge people, should be taught instead of promoting physical appearance and activists, right? So, but instead, on this notion, teachers teach their students to like look at that it's important to look a certain way, or to be beautiful, or to be physically able, right? So, in this case, we believe that children will learn that it's okay not to be ugly or not beautiful. It's unacceptable, and people judge even more by other people's look. And so this is how we believe that lookism will be promoted even more on the government's paradigm, right? Because it's lookism and ableism, and people, we believe, will be more even more stigmatized because schools and parents teach that looks are everything, and so we believe that this is not the schools, by doing so, will is not fulfilling its role. And secondly, how will this affect individuals, like especially children? So because parents in school constantly, like children interact with parents in school constantly, we think that this value will be engraved even more into these children, right? So what will happen? We think that children cannot like self-actualize themselves, and like how, like what do I mean by this? So we think that some people cannot meet these standards, such as people who cannot afford to buy mascara, or people who cannot exercise outside because they are paralyzed, and things like that, right? And people like who generally choose not to do those things. So we think that these people will be judged even more in society. So they can't they can't get a job even more, and they can't marry. They can't find a partner and like marry people. And we think that this is very damaging because some people, to them, is these things are very valuable, right? And like happiness equals getting a job or getting married, right? So we think that this is very harmful to the individuals. And so who will especially, no thank you, be stigmatized even more? So, and yeah, who will be even more stigmatized? So people who cannot, people who choose not to do something, or people who are not, who cannot afford to invest in beauty, right? We think that they will be stigmatized even more. And so we think that it's rather important for schools and parents to teach that education and studying more should be encouraged, right? Because we think that comparatively everyone can achieve this, right? Because you don't have to be rich to go to a library and borrow books and study on their own. And like everyone comparatively can achieve education, right? And we think that skills should be something that should be prioritized and valued in society, right? So, but we don't. But on the government's paradigm, they cannot achieve this because people will not even try to look at their skills or personality if that person's ugly, right? Or ugly or not physically able, because they'll think that they're incapable and they're not. They're just incapable, and we think that this is very harmful for harmful, and the government cannot achieve their goal of self-actualization, or children cannot achieve happiness, right? So to compare, we think that on the government side there will be more stigmatization, like if you're ugly, you're not competent, but if you're pretty, you're okay. And even those people who are not physically attractive, even if they're very skilled and very intelligent, they'll not be even considered for job hunting. And and also the disabled people are not hired because they're physically not incapable, and they cannot like exercise, or if they're obese because they're sick, they cannot really like choose to change that, right? But on our side, comparatively, we think that there will be less judgment because people will be more accepting of different people, because they'll learn about how skills or what's on the inside is more important, and also because it's more acceptable to people look different ways, right? So we think that on our paradigm, because in the status quo, people, autistic people or disabled people, or and skills are already valued in our society, we think that they'll still be considered. Rather, we can counteract against wokeism and ableism, and that's what we strongly oppose.
I thank the DLO for her remarks. Next, I'd like to call upon the member of the government. Here.
Open government generally suggested that, in general, how you look is important. Closing government goes deeper, because we suggest that the problem is much more serious and deep-rooted. We think there's one of the serious and important cause of social hierarchy is intangible knowledge about how you're looking is important to succeed in the society. We think that kind of intangible knowledge must be spread in the school, so for every children, so that all of them can have a fair chance to succeed and go up social ladder in the future. That's why we propose the motion. Debaters first. Firstly, they told us from opposition side, well, what if they are poor? That's more problematic. Well, firstly, my first extension is how this proposal is good for poor people. But aside that, we think it's not necessarily costly to improve your how you look. Right? It is like not everything costs so much. Like about teaching what kind of combination of colors of clothes is good or not. Like not using too many colors, otherwise you look strange. Those things do not cost at all. Moreover, even if you need some cost, we don't think that that's exclusive at all. For example, emphasis on importance of English does cost somewhat, because if you can hire private tutor of English, then you can improve your ability of English a lot. But that's not possible for every single individual. We don't think that's something schools should not do just because it may cost some money at all. secondly, they told us, secondly, in general, opposition is quite unclear how this proposal is going to create the change to what they call harm, like disenfranchisement of some students. That's like basically status quo, right? Because as I pointed out, the existence of the word rootism clearly proves there is social phenomenon even without schools doing that. Even though under status quo, schools are not encouraging to improve attractiveness, still that is happening. They have to prove why there's additional norm to that phenomenon, but we don't see clear logic to that.
So-
Yes, go ahead.
So you must be supposing that, like, assuming that, telling people that beauty is admired is equivalent to telling people that beauty ought to be admired. How do you close this gap?
No, well, what we suggest is firstly that it's not mutually exclusive to say, well, your personality, other personality is important, and you must consider other people by personality, and you can at the same time encourage students to improve how you look and how you are attractive. We don't think that's a mutually exclusive thing. Mutually exclusive thing. Two points of extension. Firstly, attractiveness as intangible wealth, and secondly, why social engineering it must not be prioritized over benefits for children. On the first extension, attractiveness as intangible wealth, or if we prefer, overcoming social hierarchy that is created by intangible knowledge of importance of how you look. Because we see clearly polarized society under current world, right? Today's world, right? Under status quo, like high society or upper class people are successful and they know how to be fashionable, and then those parents are going to teach their children to be fashionable, and those children are going to learn to be fashionable as well, and they make a social class that systematically disenfranchise outsiders, those who do not adapt that kind of like standard of beauty. Under that situation, other people cannot join unless you have that knowledge of how to be beautiful. On the other hand, other people, especially socio-economically deprived people, are living in somewhat different place. The problem here is that not, as they suggested, in not everywhere, looking is important. Because in some other places, particularly what we call blue-collar jobs, looking how you look is not prioritized. And when your parents are those people and having those jobs, then from their experience, they do not think how you look is important in the society, and those parents do not suggest or recommend their children to look better. Here's the gap. Because as long as those children do not get knowledge until they go up to society, then they cannot be trying to go up social ladder and to go different careers from their parents. They do not have choices as diverse compared to the children of rich families, not just because of money, but because of this intangible knowledge that are not taught under socioeconomically deprived families. That's why schools must be there to teach that. Because schools must be a place to teach what is necessary to succeed in the society, and that's a common place to share the knowledge to be successful in the society. Like let's say English. Not every family sees the importance of English. Some people are working domestically, but we share that importance of knowledge, the importance of English in the school, so that every single children, regardless of their parents, can have a chance to be successful globally. We think it's exactly analogous, and that's the duty of the school to do those sharing or spreading of knowledge, right? Secondly, like social engineering benefits for children, because they are in their case, like, well, let's do social engineering. Let's alter the society by teaching something to children. We don't think that's a good thing at all. Because education must prioritize the benefit for the children at the first place. The children have no choices, no alternative but to receive that education. But better society can be created by other ways. Like, well, government can do campaigns, government can make a law, government can regulate excessive promotion of advertisement of beauty stuff and so forth. But we do not have to use children as a tool to make children as a soldier to fight against the social norm. Even if that social norm may not be something desirable in the society, children must be prioritized in the school, in the place of education, and their benefit must come first than those social goals that is somewhat far away compared to the direct future of children themselves. That's why, because that those kind of sharing of knowledge of importance of cooking is important, we propose the motion. Thanks.
I thank the member of the government for his remarks. Next, I'd like to call upon the member of opposition. Here, here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson and Committee. In the first place, actually understand the school, some kind of thing emphasize what is a beauty, and beauty is important for not only children but also adults. However, we think why the parents and educators have to invest and have to parents and educators have to invest or promote to be beauty to their children and to their students. So we are happy to oppose this motion. Today first of all, I want to repeat for the argument. Member of government said that before, maybe they want to say parents and educators have to and promote to be beauty to their children and children. However, it is not important. However, actually, many people already already know about what is being beauty is important. Why teaching the fact is not meaning to their children and parents. So the argument doesn't sound sorry. Okay, let's move one more point. So yeah. Today I want to talk about three things in my speech. The first goal is first of all is investing way. For example, how to invest to be the beauty, and second goal is second is I want to show you some character in this motion. Sorry, I don't have 3 points. Okay, let's move on. Sorry. Mr. Speaker, we think so. How to invest to the children and actually how do they invest to their children and students? We think I have one way. For example, using public funds. In this case, we think we have 2 cases. First of all, not using public fund case and using public fund case. I want to explain one by one. In the first point is not using the public fund. In this case, the economic equality will be more bad because if don't having much money and much time, people difficult to be beauty, and they will not get the opportunity to be the beauty more than having money people. In this case, the economic, like these people's economic gap will be more will be more broad. And
they don't have the way to access to the society more than rich people. It is more harmful them. And after taking this proposal, like these people looked by other people, it will be more bad because if the society think about the don't having money people will be ugly or not beautiful, it is making mind choose the socials. It corrects you the not having money and poor people's mind will be bad for things.
You mentioned that encouragement is not necessary in your rebuttal. That means under your paradigm, schools only teaches how studying hard is important, but never encourages students to actually study, right?
So actually, some people don't want to study. However, so studying is to learning about appearance is totally different. We think. We think. Okay, my partner will explain more detail. Okay. Let's move on second case. So using public fund case. So if there are people using public fund to be beauty and to getting the knowledge about beauty, in this time, so it makes responsibility if the people can't be beauty, it is their responsibility. It is unfair situation because actually if they afford to be the beauty, however, around the people can't legalize and can't say you are beauty. It is a very harmful for their mental and it is unfair situation. So it is bad. Okay, sorry. Okay, let's move on second part. I have two characters in this round debate. So first is having her incentive to be beauty, and second is not have incentive to be beauty. However, they already have the other incentive for their processing. So in this time, if after taking this proposal, we ignore like these people, especially second cases. First people already have the high incentive, so they can access the fashion magazine and Twitter or TV and so on. So it is no me. So we don't need to invest for like these people. Second case is so if they can't. They don't have incentive to beauty. However, they already have the other incentive. For example, studying or want to be the sports player. And so in this time, if after taking this proposal, they can't spend the more time like this. They spend their life more than under status quo. It is a very harmful and government ignore like these people. From all these reasons, we strongly oppose this one.
I thank the member of the opposition for her remarks. To close the government side, I'd like to call upon the government whip. Here.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
this debate is about which is better for the children, and the opening opposition side talked about the stigmatizations, and it leads the harm toward the children, so they will oppose. But my partner clearly engaged these points and will clash to this point. So, and also the closing government talked about the problem of the monies, but it's also clashed to my partner's extensions, and I want to explain it one by one. So firstly, I have three arguments. Firstly, about the clash points with the opening opposition sides. So about the stigmatizations. So why this is not leads the so harmful situations, and why it is not the goal of the education. It doesn't the collection of the social stigma or such kind of things is not the role of the educations. And secondly, about the crash point with the closing opposition. So they talk about the problem of the monies, but why it is not it is not the case. And our side is failure in perspective of the social hierarchies based on the attractiveness. So thirdly, about the extension of my partners. So open government talked about why appearance is so important, because importance, and it the reason that why it is important is the social norms. And my partner clearly talked about the basis of these problems, like the social hierarchies. So upper class people will especially focus on those physical attractiveness. So it is a root cause of the problems. So I want to explain this points more deeply. So yes, okay.
In your paradigm, you teach the poor to wear a suit and look clean, but they cannot afford this change. How can they achieve the benefits?
So I will explain my second point about the clash point with the closing government. So wait, please. So I have several rebuttals, but all rebuttals didn't include my speech. So firstly, about the clash point with the opening oppositions. So they talked about the stigmatizations. So they talked like that. After taking this plan, like some students will lose the confidence or lose the happiness. So because of the stigmatizations, that we cannot look the very clear logic why people, especially after taking this plan, stigmatization will occur, and what is the clear benefits, clear harms released by these motions. Like they talked about like losing of the partners or losing the jobs or such kind of things. But of course, it is also occurring that under the city schools there is a social norms, like the some very good appearance people will get a good jobs or will promote us. It is already explained in my partners, so I cannot understand the impact of their problems, and also their benefits, like allow many personality or that kind of things. But we cannot understand what is allowing the many personalities. And also, as my partner pointed out, it is a mutual exclusives, because like of course we will care beauty as same as other factor like knowledge or other such kind of things, and because like it this beautiness will make the social gaps, and for success of their children, that caring about the beauty is so important things. So we'll encourage children to care about beautiness or so. So we think that it is mutually exclusive, and our side explanation is more serious than their benefits. So we think we are serious. Let's move on to my second point about flashpoints with the closing governments. So they talked about the problem of the monies, and they don't have capacities. But firstly, of course, as my partner pointed out, money is not the only case. Even if we cannot cost the monies, we can pursue our goals, because like for diet or other such kind of things are also achieved in our paradigms. And also, as my partner pointed out, whether it is costful or not become the reason to whether it will encourage or not, because like we can see in the example of the English or other kind of things. Of course, the government are now focusing on other things like English or math or other kind of things. And of course, children focus on to improve those skills, and it will lose some cost. But government decide to focus on these points and encourage children to learn about the English or learn about the math. So we think that whether cost is not a problem. And also, even if there are some cost knowledge that attractiveness will lead to their success, or attractiveness leads their wealth. Those knowledge is more important than money, because, like, of course, as my partner said, poor family children don't have the knowledge or don't have the consciousness that the attractiveness is something important for them to promote or to get jobs. So by knowing this, of course, even if they cannot perfectly invest in the appearance, of course, to some extent, yeah, they can invest on the money to their appearance by, of course, if they can to some extent invest on their appearance, they can get a much better job than their parents, because the poor children don't have the knowledge about that attractiveness is so important to their jobs, to their promotions. So we think our family is failures. So we think we will spill it in the closing opposition. Let's move on to my third point about the extension of my partners. So, and I will compare with the opening government's arguments. So opening government's argument is like that. In the real societies, people care about the appearance. So, for example, in the case of the job huntings or so, the teaching that attractiveness, physical attractiveness is important is very useful. But my partner will point out the root cause of this point: social hierarchies. In the upper class, the social the attractiveness is so important, and it is a root cause. And we think that by solving these problems and social hierarchies, that teaching or encourage children to care about the beautiness is so important. So our partner's contribution is so unique and important in this debate. So we think we can win this debate. Thank you.
I thank the government whip for her remarks. To close the debate, I'd like to call upon opposition whip here.
So unfortunately for the opposition side, it's factually true that beautiful people are more successful in society. And the closing opposition recognizes that opposition has to deal with this fact that beauty is admired. But at least government side is fundamentally problematic because they attempt to derive norms from factual truth. Right? They tell the people who are not so beautiful that beauty's tyranny is an absolute fact that you must face and you must deal with. And you must invest into your own beauty in order to escape from the tyranny of the beauty, and otherwise you will be held liable for all the inconvenience that you will face in the future. Right? So this is a message that the government side is sending to the children, and we think this is quite problematic, right? Morally problematic, right? So we think people who are not beautiful have intrinsic value, not because they can be more beautiful if they make sufficient effort, but because beauty is not related to moral worth of individuals at all. And this recognition is something that schools, educators, parents must teach to the children, because this is the basis of the social cooperation in the future between people who happen to be beautiful and who happen to be not beautiful, right? So this is our emphasis. So there are two things I'm going to talk about. So first of all, from the fact that beauty is admired in society, can we normatively claim that children ought to be encouraged to pursue beauty? And the second point is how depressive the life will be for those who choose to prioritize something else over beauty, or those who cannot even choose to invest on beauty itself. So firstly, norms from facts. So opening government said, as a matter of fact, appearance is regarded as an important resource in society because, for example, employers value how beautiful the applicants are and so on and so forth. So we agree that, as a matter of fact, beauty does influence the children, what children can effectively do in their future. However, what opening government did was to derive a normative statement from this fact of beauty, that beauty is admired. They in effect argue in the following way. So children ought to invest in their beauty because, as a matter of fact, they will be evaluated in terms of their beauty in the future. So our question is, how can norms be derived from facts? So this is a fundamental question that the government side didn't answer in this throughout this debate, right? So if government's argument stands, for example, hypothetically, no thank you. It is structurally true. It is structurally the same to say that non-white people ought to invest to change their skin color into white if, as a matter of fact, whiteness is admired in a given society, right? And this stands also for like religion or gender or those things, right? They are changeable, and and some like specific gender or specific religion is more prevalent in society. And in that case, in government's case, the individuals, children, have to be told that you ought to pursue that value. No, thank you. So that is really problematic in the government's case, right? Even if it's changeable, there is something that is so fundamental to humans, to individuals, that they want to pursue that value over beauty, right? And so they have to be systematically encouraged if they want to prioritize something else over beauty. So second response to the government's basic stance is that government lacks an analysis of how the norms of beauty is actually disseminated in the society. There are, for example, fashion magazines or model industries or beauty contests or those things, and the price of beauty is always already stressed everywhere, and just how norms of beauty is created in a status quo. And we acknowledge that this is a fact. But what is different is what the educator's job is to be conceived, right? On the government side, the educator's job is to accelerate this emphasis on beauty, which is already taking place, right? And in effect, the educators have to encourage children to consider whether beauty is of so much value in the first place. But in our paradigm, educators can encourage children not to think about beauty at all, right? When they make, let's say, some life choices, right? Children can prioritize something else over beauty. They might be able to prioritize like studying over beauty, or they can prioritize like playing over beauty, playing sports over beauty, or playing games over beauty, like me. So we think it is possible under our paradigm. In their paradigm, it is not so much like normatively admired. Yes.
One, answer my previous POI. Two, which is better, making them face the tyranny of beauty and enable them to for every future, or make them neglect the reality and limit their future.
Okay. So that is closing government's point. I'm going to deal with from now on. So closing government on the second point I just told. There is the intangible knowledge of social hierarchy of beauty, whatever it is. So educators must reveal the reality of the world in which beauty is admired. So our question is, again, why is it not enough to tell children, actually, unfortunately for you, beauty is admired and the choice is upon you? So why is it justified, as closing government does in this way, to extend the educator's job to actively encourage children to invest in the beauty? So again, closing government is deriving norms from facts, right? And there is no argument as to why children ought to be encouraged to pursue beauty. The only analogy was this. When schools tell children the importance of studying, they encourage children to study, in effect, right? So we think studying is absolutely distinct from beauty, right? Because unlike pursuit for beauty, studying can be encouraged only by educators, right? So if schools didn't encourage studying, children would have no effective access to the importance of studying. So what about beauty on the other hand? It is clearly stressed everywhere, right? As I indicated earlier, the importance of beauty, the factual importance of beauty is stressed everywhere. And what is necessary here is to question whether beauty as such is such an important value. So that is only possible when they are not like so systematically exposed to the normative significance of beauty. So finally, how depressive the life will be for those who choose to participate in something else over beauty, or who cannot choose beauty itself. So we indicated that economic deprivation is reflected upon how effectively children can pursue beauty. And the opening government said beauty is not so expensive, and the closing government didn't, in effect, respond to this. And we think it is expensive, right? Fashion is so always updated, it takes money, and exercise takes so much time from those who are, for example, inclined not to lose weight so easily, right? So money and time is incessantly spent on beauty and fashion. So what if there's some economic, socio-economic difference in capability of a person for beauty? The result is that those who are not beautiful, either because of poverty or because of choice, will face contempt by others. It might be their choice, it might not be their choice, but the result is the same. They might be contempted by other people. They will be contempted by other people. And that result is really depressing. So we wanted to oppose this motion.
I thank the opposition with first remarks. All speeches are over. Thank you for your cooperation. Please cross the House.